First of all, I want to welcome you all, and I want to, I'm supposed to firmly ask that, I'm Diane Cartman, by the way, in case Adam didn't, get it out there. And we're going to conclude this program by 9:30, which means we actually kind of have to move it along with a little expeditious speed. I want to especially welcome our very special guests. And we start with our past presidents. And in particular, I want to welcome Nick Alice. Oh, wait, can you hold your applause till the end? Because you're going to want to applause to all of these people. Christopher Bradford, Emily Edelman, Lawrence Goodman, Lawrence Jacobson, Nancy Knuffler, Daniel McIntosh, Cindy Pasternak, Mark Poster, Stephen Rauscher, John Rubner, Mark Salas, Barry Shanley, and our president for 1 week, Mark Steinberg, and Anthony Vital. I want to welcome all of our former presidents. And now we have another group of very distinguished guests, judges and VIPs. Lawrence Crispo is going to be getting a word tonight. Jack Newman, also retired. Judge Barry Russell, who's going to do our swearing in. Judge John Siegel. Tim McCoy, former Judge Tim McCoy. I didn't see Alan Rothenberg here, but if his name is on the list, it's accurate. In a few minutes. Okay, Dean Dinell Taka. Former mayor of Beverly Hills, Stephen Webb, who's very active with us. Craig Holden and his lovely wife, Dora, who I don't know if they're here yet. They'll be coming in a little bit late. And the soon-to-be president of the Los Angeles County Bar, Paul Kissel. Thank you. I want to also welcome and thank our installation dinner speakers, our gold sponsors, including the Matloff Company, and that's Elliot, who so many of us knows right there. Pacholsky, Stang, Zeal, and Jones LLP. Our silver sponsors, First Century Bank, the Daily Journal Corporation, Feinberg, Mandel, Brandt, and Klein LLP, Girardi and Keese, Pepperdine University School of Law, Robbins, Kapler, Miller, and Cerisi LLP, and Torrey Pines Bank. Okay, now we go on to our capital campaign contributors. We're only going to go through some of our major donors. One of the most major, of course, is the Beverly Hills Bar Foundation. Hockman, Salick, Reddick, Tosher, and Perez. Joan and Fred Nicholas, who are always there for us. And then the Leader Group, which is Bird, Morella, Boxer, Wolpert, Neeson, Drokes, Lissenberg, and Rao, PC. Gang, Tire, Rammer, and Brown, and the Gold Family Foundation. Lawrence Jacobson, Laverly and Singer, Stuart Lenner, and Nemechek and Cole. And now our benefactors, Robert A. Arnoff, Hirsch Manis Bogan LLP, Mark Salas and Devorah Cohen. Mark and LaWanda Steinberg. Wasser, Cooperman, and Carter. White, Zuckerman, Waslowski, Luna, and Hunt. Those are our major contributors to our capital campaign. And I want to take 1 minute to thank our staff, because we all look good up here and we have everything written down and organized. They all welcome you in here, but I'd like to hear a big hand for our staff, please. Because but for our staff, we wouldn't be here, we wouldn't be able to celebrate this wonderful evening and, just have this amazing of a bar association as we have. Now, we're going to be moving into the actual awards, and we give a lot because we have amazing people in our association. First, I want to thank Larry Crispo. It's really fun to be able to give your friends gifts. And can you start coming up here as we're announcing the gift? Judge Larry Crispo is being honored with the President's Award for his longstanding participation as a judicial ex officio member on the Board of Governors. He has been on the board steadily since 2004. Judge Crispo has been a stalwart ally and a reliable source on many topics, including bench and bar issues, court funding crisis. He's also served as co-chair of the bench and bar bike ride since its beginning, if I'm not mistaken. And Judge Crispo served as a judge of the LA Superior Court and now is a private judge, arbitrator, mediator with ARD Services. He has an extensive range of judicial trial knowledge and experience, a graduate of Loyola Law School. Judge Crispo also completed courses and studies at the Strauss Institute for Dispute Resolution and Pepperdine University School of Law. Judge Crispo.
Thank you. Can I say a few words?
So next, we have the Board of Governors Award. This goes to people who do extraordinary service on our Board of Governors, and we're so honored to be able to present the award to Robert Reed for his tireless dedication to expanding our successful section on conflict resolution. Over the last 3 years as chair, he has maintained a very high quality of his section's programs with many distinguished attorneys and members of the judiciary as speakers, including the annual Conflict Resolution Day, which is coming up on October 16th. Bob is dedicated to promoting mediation as a cost-effective route to conflict resolution and to ensure the optimum legal services are available to the public, especially with the cutback in court services. This is an important service we are all providing to people who cannot get into courtrooms anymore. Bob, I want to thank you for helping us do that, because we know you can't get into a courthouse any longer. Bob obtained his undergraduate degree at Cornell and his JD at Cornell Law School and is currently adjunct professor at the Strauss Institute for Dispute Resolution at Pepperdine University School of Law. Bob, let me give you a big hand. Thank you. Okay, now we have the Chief Executive Officers Award. The CEO, that's now become Mark, of course, we changed from Executive Director. Suzanne Schwartz, can you please come up here? This is given to Suzanne Schwartz, who has chaired the Social Networking Committee since 2011. As social media was growing exponentially, Suzanne took on a fledgling idea, then launched, maintained, and built the Social Network Committee. The goal was to make attorneys more comfortable and savvy with the burgeoning social media tools. Their programs on timely topics have been popular and have raised the profile of the bar, so much so that when the state bar wanted to do a class on this topic, they came to us for Suzanne. That's how popular it is. In dealing with the many layers and many constituencies, Suzanne has used both her tech knowledge and diplomacy skills to forge a core group to keep ahead of the curve on social media issues. Suzanne is an attorney mediator. She's a graduate from Brown University and Southwestern School of Law. Congratulations. Is that right or not?
No worries. It's a B.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, take a
Sorry.
Now we have the Barristers Lawrence J. Blake Award. Megan Pitsky is going to get this one. And by the way, for those of you who are not in the know, the barristers are the heart and soul of this organization and our association. There are new lawyers. They represent the enthusiasm, dedication, and desire to help others and to make a difference to the level where they go and make food and feed poor people, like once a month. Okay. The Blake Award was first given in 1985 and was established to foster greater awareness and recognition of barristers' activities and accomplishments. We're pleased to present the Lawrence Blake Award this year to Megan, who consistently goes above and beyond in exemplifying the goals of the Beverly Hills Bar, the barristers, and of being of service to the community. Megan served on the Barristers Board of Governors since 2007, was elected secretary 2012 to 13, and now holds a 2-year term on the Beverly Hills Board of Governors. Currently, since 2010, she served as chair of the two Barristers Committee, the Courthouse Walkthrough, and the Kids Courthouse, both which have been impactful on those who have participated in them. Megan practices law at Cruzan and O'Connor, focusing on the areas of product liability, general liability, commercial litigation. She is a graduate of USC and obtained her law degree from Pepperdine University of the School of Law, where she was the editor for the law review of the lead articles. This is an award that means a great deal to me, and to any of you who know about the structure and bones of this organization, you know that this would not be here but for Mark. We're this year, we have a special award we don't give on an annual basis. We only give it to exceptional people, and it's known as a Lifetime Achievement Award. We're so honored this year to give it to the Louis B. Fox Award to our fine CEO, Mark Steinberg. Lou Fox. I know. This was one of my goals when I got on the board of the XCOM, because I just think it's imperative. Lou Fox was our first full-time executive director, and it's intended to be a tribute to someone who's gone above and beyond the goals for an extended period of time for the Beverly Hills Bar. Who is talking back there? Okay, I'm a really former law professor. Okay, I will start calling on people and give them a dime to call home. Okay, if you know that joke, okay? But no one exemplifies this remarkable award as much as Mark Steinberg, our 214 recipient. While this marks his 10th year as our executive director, now CEO, Mark's 35 years of involvement with the Beverly Hills Bar started when past president Larry May asked him and encouraged him to join the entertainment section. Since then, he's been involved in so many endeavors, including chairing the entertainment law section, launching the Entertainment Lawyer of the Year, one of our big events of the year, revitalizing the Beverly Hills Bar USC Entertainment Institute, and he legislatively helped to amend the Coogan Act. His leadership on the Board of Governors from 1993 to 97, and by the way, he also chaired the 70th anniversary gala, one of the many milestones that marked the Beverly Hills Bar. In 2000, Mark was nominated to join the XCOM committee, and he was on track to be president of the association 2004 to 2005 when fate intervened. And in 2003, in the form of a devastating financial crisis caused by an employment embezzlement, Mark sort of stepped in with many of the rest of you to save this bar association. Mark kept the doors open, prosecuted the perpetrator, negotiated with the banks and insurance carriers and accounting firms to keep the bar afloat. And many of our past presidents were there when this was happening, and they all deserve a badge of courage for this stuff. Little did he know that despite all he'd done for the Beverly Hills Bar, things were not over yet. He was selected as interim executive director in 2004 and was subsequently confirmed as a permanent position in July 2004 after serving the shortest presidency ever of 1 week. Mark assembled a remarkable leadership team, many of whom are still here, and launched the Friends of the Bar fundraising effort and more. During the last 10 years, he's shown incredible dedication, energy, and creativity. He's presented unique programs such as the Lawyers Without Rights, celebrated the 75th and 80th anniversary of events, and of course his vision and drive resulted in planning construction and the move to our new bar center in the Rolex building, and tirelessly work on supporting the capital campaign. Now, a few minutes ago I mentioned vision to you. Okay. One of the things you don't know about, but that I know about keenly, because I've had a chance to work with him this year, is we're here because Mark has a vision of the way the world should be. And it's Mark's world. Right, Mark's world. And we are so fortunate to be able to live in that expectation. Because we wouldn't be here, we wouldn't be having these fancy, wonderful events. We wouldn't travel the world. I mean, we go to Cuba, Vietnam, India. That's Mark's world. That's what a fabulous bar association does. In Mark's world, we are the bar association with the most beautiful prime location in anywhere. I mean, the middle of Beverly Hills. On Wilshire Boulevard. Does it get much better? I don't think so. In Mark's world, you see, we are the best association in the world. And we have the most wonderful staff, and Mark makes it happen, because this is the vision he has of the world. And so I am so profoundly honored, and I mean this, to be able to give this award to Mark. And, I mean, he does the Beverly Hills Bar, the Barristers, the Bars Foundation. And wait, I also want to thank LaWanda Steinberg for lending us Mark. And now, thank you, Lou. And breaking with our tradition of no acceptance remarks and reserving the right not to create a precedent, I want to ask Mark to please come up here, because I know you all want to hear from him, and I do too.
Wow, no one could follow that. No one can follow that. Thank you, Diane, for those amazing, generous comments. As you said, we are breaking a rule tonight of no award acceptance speeches, so thank you for inviting me to make some brief remarks, which I promise will be brief. First, let me congratulate my fellow awardees tonight, Judge Larry Crispo, Bob Reed, Suzanne Schwartz, and Megan Pitsky. I'm sure I speak for them too. They won't get to say this, but I will, when I say how proud and appreciative we are to be acknowledged by the Beverly Hills Bar Association. Over 10 years as your executive director and CEO. Over 30 years as an active BHBA member. And 1 week as president of this wonderful organization. Seems like a minute. For all those times and milestones, and for this award, I am truly grateful and deeply honored. I sincerely appreciate the sentiment and the support of the Executive Committee and the Board of Governors that receiving the Lou Fox Award represents. I now join only 6 prior Fox Award recipients and feel blessed to be in such company. Lou Fox was a good and dear friend of the bar and of mine, and I hope he is looking down and enjoying this. Our Beverly Hills Bar Association, which really is preeminent and admired throughout the country. I spend a good deal of time out there in bar land, so I know where we stand and what our stature is admired and preeminent because of its 83 years of activism and accomplishments. But we stand on the shoulders of our leaders, past and present, many of whom are here tonight. For the accomplishments that Diane mentioned, and for so many more during the bar's illustrious history, I salute our leaders and all our past presidents, especially those who guided me early on or who have been my partners for the past 10 years. Diane mentioned Larry May, who nudged me to become actively involved in the entertainment law section. Tony Barash, who nudged me to join the Board of Governors. Barry Shanley, who arranged for me to receive a Governor's Award. Emily Edelman, who nudged me to join the Executive Committee. And now for the past 10 years, I've had the privilege to serve and be partners with Chris Bradford, Steve Rohde, Ken Petroulis, Cindy Pasternak, Larry Goldman, Mark Salas, Nancy Knupfer, Mark Poster, Steve Rauscher, Larry Jacobson, John Rubiner, and the inimitable Diane Cartman. I look forward to working with Linda, Duran, and Gillian, and many future leaders in the years ahead. As Diane mentioned, in addition to our amazing leaders, the bar and I are beneficiaries of the most dedicated and indomitable staff. For all their hard work and loyalty, I want to thank my team. As if this was not enough of a moment of personal privilege, I'd like to remark on the fact that 35 years ago, I came to Beverly Hills from government practice in Washington, D.C., to follow a dream to pursue entertainment law. The firm of Grayson, Gross, Friedman, and Phillips gave me a job and a start. Barry Friedman and Jerry Phillips are here tonight. Thank you, guys. And then when it came time to strike out on my own, I was blessed to do so with my dear friend and cousin, Rick Ross, to start Steinberg and Ross. Rick and Robin, thank you for being here tonight. And through it all, I have had the love and support of my wife, Lou, and our family and dear friends, some of whom are here tonight. Thank you. Lou, Kelly and Don, Carol, Danny and Josie, and although they are not here with us tonight, they are in Dallas, our granddaughter, Holiday, and her husband, Tony. Thank you very much. Even as awards such as this cause us to look back, albeit with gratitude and humility, I urge all of us to keep looking forward. As I do, I see an even stronger, more vigorous Beverly Hills Bar Association. So I am grateful and humbled to receive the Lou Fox Award, and I thank you. And now I invite you to enjoy dinner.
Okay, so now I want to acknowledge our outgoing board members who include immediate past President John Rubner, Dean Rachel Moran from UCLA, Beverly Hills Bar Foundation President Bonita Moore, hi Bonnie, Deborah Fontaine, Aaron Laboritz, Levon Lawson, who's going to join our executive committee and be in the ladder, Lee Lesher, Steve Mayer, Elizabeth Marino, Carolyn Rufy, Cynthia Tobisman, and Jeannie Percival Wright. Let's give a big hand to those people. This is my 1-minute farewell. I'm good with it. I had a dream presidency. I don't truly think it could get much better. I want to thank you for letting me have the opportunity to guide this organization and be president, because it's just a tremendous honor. It really is. I'm very, very grateful. If you want to know the details of what happened during my presidency, look at your immediate last bar brief. It goes into the Russians who came. It goes into us immediately moving our Supreme Court luncheon from the Beverly Hills Hotel to the Montage Hotel because of the issue of Sharif law, which of course, thank you. The Sharif issue, of course, is contrary to the core principles of this organization. And I know we'd all like to go back there, but we really can't as long as the Sultan of Brunei is controlling that hotel and several others throughout the world. I mean, it was a tremendous honor to have my good friend Justice Joyce Kennard give one of the best Supreme Court speeches ever. It was just extraordinary. And then, of course, I got to spend an hour and a half interviewing Justice Ron George with his new book, and we still have books that are available if you like. It was just extraordinary. And again, it was a dream presidency, and I want to thank you for allowing me to serve in that capacity. And I want to thank all of you for supporting this organization with your dedication your commitment, and most importantly, with your hearts. And I have supported this organization in the same manner, and I want to thank you for committing to this group, because I don't think it gets much better. And I'm leaving with a sense of security and confidence, because I'm able to say that Linda is going to be the best president you've ever had. Everyone in the executive committee gets to go to what I refer to as the Mark Steinberg finishing school. Right. We've all been to it. Anyone who's got any kind of a patina of competency's been there. And so I know that Linda's just going to do a tremendous job, and I just feel that you're in very good and safe hands. I want to introduce you to Judge Barry Russell. The Honorable Barry Russell, Judge of the United States Bankruptcy Court, Central District of California, was appointed to the bench in 1974 and served as Chief Judge from 2003 to 2006. He has served for 40, that's older than many of you are, he has served for 40 consecutive years and was honored in 2012 as the most senior United States bankruptcy judge still actively serving. Prior to being called to the bench, he worked at the U.S. Treasury, the L.A. County Office of the Public Defender, and Assistant U.S. Attorney of the Department of Justice. Judge Russell received his Bachelor of Science and Juris Doctorate from UCLA, or University of California, Los Angeles, Ladies and gentlemen, it is a privilege for me to introduce your installing officer, the Honorable Barry Russell. Thank you.
Well, it's such a pleasure to be here. I know a lot of you, not all of you, but and it's also a great honor to be able to install my good friend Linda Spiegel as the president of the Beverly Hills Bar Association. We've been family friends since her 3 children were very young and long before she decided to go to law school. Her first interest in the law was partly due to her divorce. She would have preferred a settlement in lieu of trial. Experiencing civil procedure firsthand and reading the motions and trial briefs, she was smitten with the legal process. At the prodding of her mother and with the encouragement of friends, including me, she applied for admission to Whittier Law School. And this was no easy task as a single mother of 3 young children between the ages of 6 and 10. After graduation from law school, I was honored to swear her into the Federal District Court. And 3 years later, I was privileged to sponsor her for admission to the United States Supreme Court. Speaking of the United States Supreme Court, you heard a little bit about it before, but since 2003, she has orchestrated and executed the Beverly Hills Bar Association U.S. Supreme Court trip. Linda moves for the admission of up to 25 of your members before the 9 justices in the courtroom chamber. In fact, she arranges a 3-day excursion over the weekend prior to admission, and breakfast at the court, and then private receptions with Supreme Court justices, including Justices O'Connor, Kennedy, Ginsburg, Alito, and Sotomayor, for the newly admitted group. To date, she has moved for admission of over 100 Beverly Hills Bar Association members. Linda has a long history of Beverly Hills Bar Association leadership. She's chaired numerous committees, including the Barristers, Nuts and Bolts MCLE Committee, the Santa Monica Court Walkthrough, and the Brown Bag Lunch with the Judge program. She chaired and taught portions of the high school education program, which was known as the Blue Car Project, co-chaired by your popular vintage bouquet wine and food event at Greystone Mansion. I've been waiting to go there. I've never quite made it there. But in any case, and in addition to having been the barrister's president 12 years ago, she has been a member of the Association Board of Governors since 2003. In addition to the Beverly Hills Bar Association, this marks her decade as a chair of the LA County Bar Association Real Property Section's Installation and Awards Dinner. Though she enjoys planning installation dinners, she got the night off tonight. Linda becomes the 10th woman president of the Beverly Hills Bar Association and the 6th past barrister's president to be installed as a Beverly Hills Bar Association president. She has received both the Barristers Lawrence J. Blake Award and the Beverly Hills Bar Association's President's Award for her service to the organization. The Beverly Hills Bar Association and the legal community at large is very fortunate to have Linda as your next president. Linda, would you please come up? Okay. Now, would you raise your right hand? Do you solemnly affirm that you will seek to pursue justice, to maintain the high standards of our profession, and to improve the quality of legal services for all people, and further affirm that you will promote the interest and welfare of the Beverly Hills Bar Association and its members to the best of your ability? Do you assume these obligations freely and with enthusiasm, and pledge to well and faithfully discharge the duties which it now will be your honor to perform?
I do.
Good job, Sheila.
Thank you, Barry, for making me sound so good. And folks, bear with me. There's a frog in my throat and it just won't go away. As my first order of business as president, I'd like to call up Diane Karpman so that we can acknowledge and thank her for her year of service. Diane has been an amazing teacher, mentor, and leader, and I can't thank her enough for all that she has done in the past year. Contrary to the 1967 song by Harry Nilsson, one is not the loneliest number, not when it comes to the Beverly Hills Bar Association, because one in this case refers to unity. Unity of the association, the barristers, and the foundation, of ideals, goals, and aspirations, unity of colleagues as friends and comrades in the pursuit of justice and access to it. Under its one very productive umbrella, the Beverly Hills Bar Association serves 3 distinct governing boards. It is now my charge and privilege to preside over the Association Board of Governors, which sets the policy for its almost 6,000 members who participate in a combined 31 committees and sections. The Barristers Board of Governors leads our hipper, more recently admitted members. They're not only prolific and innovative, but they are also our future, and we look to them to keep us current on what's trending, what's up, and what's ahead. As a not-so-distant barristers president, I am committed to continue incorporating the barrister's perspective in our deliberations on policy and practices, and to supporting the tremendous contributions they give to the organization. The 3rd governing board of the BHBA umbrella is our foundation, the steadfast charitable arm which supports the good works of our organization, including the funding of law school scholarships, public forums, and free legal clinics. We are grateful for their unwavering support, and I enthusiastically look forward to working together to expand the Foundation's beneficial reach. Though distinct in their perspective and focus, all 3 entities are dedicated to our common principles, maintaining the high standards of legal education, community service, and collegiality that has kept the BHBA in the highest regard for over 80 years. So on my wish of what I'd like to accomplish during my term in office, my first and primary focus will be to encourage and facilitate robust interaction between these 3 formidable constituencies to forge a galvanized and even more dynamic association. That aspiration extends to our sections and committees as well, who are essential to our continued success and viability. So if any of our section or committee leaders have ever felt distanced from the mothership, off on some other orbit, know that my aim to enhance the connection and communications also extends to you. If you ask our past and current bar leaders what motivated them to become active in this organization, more often than not, they'll tell you that this is the Bar Association where one member can make a significant impact, turn ideas into legacies. In 1970, When BHBA member Fred Nicholas saw a need to provide pro bono legal assistance, he began a free legal service program through the BHBA that is now known as Public Counsel, the largest public interest pro bono law firm in the country. Now, Public Counsel and other legal aid organizations do a phenomenal job of serving those who qualify for free assistance. But in the 21st century, the greater need facing our legal system is access to justice for those who fall in the gap between being able to afford the average hourly rate of an established lawyer and eligibility for free services. The World Justice Project ranked the United States 64th out of 99 countries in the accessibility and affordability of its civil justice system. We are behind Albania, Botswana, China, and Nigeria, all at a time where there is an overabundance of unemployed lawyers. So the second item on my wish list is developing a self-sustaining, low bono legal services program for modest means clients who don't qualify for free legal aid, but who can pay a modest hourly rate to a new or unemployed lawyer looking to build a practice or get experience that will translate into a resume for future employment. Our profession, which champions due process and the opportunity to be heard, has the responsibility to facilitate affordable representation to be heard as well. The third aspiration on my ambitious wish list is to join our California Supreme Court Chief Justice in promoting the reinstatement of civics education back into our school curriculum and educating our state's post-high school electorate about the value and importance of their active participation in our democracy. It's a sad commentary on our society when Manny, Mo, and Curly are more familiar to today's high school students than our three branches of government. And they were in reruns even before I started school. At the formation of our country, the notion that every citizen had the right to cast a vote in the governance of their own country was at the time the greatest political experiment ever undertaken. Even the framers of the Constitution were unsure that the fledgling country could succeed in self-governance without a monarch to rein them in. But succeed it did, and now around the world, people are risking their lives for the same privilege. However, as Thomas Jefferson observed, an educated citizenry is a vital requisite for our survival as a free people. We lawyers, defenders of our legal system, need to champion the education of our citizenry in our system of government and the necessity of an informed vote. Failure to re-engage the public in the privilege of electing our representatives and judges will leave us with candidates answering only to lobbyists paid by special interests. We'll see excessive taxation, but our courts will be underfunded and unable to handle the overwhelming caseloads before them. Oh wait, that's already happening. But here comes the BHBA cavalry. I am delighted to share with you that with the enthusiasm of our barristers and the support of our foundation, volunteers from the Beverly Hills Bar Association will lead the charge by reaching out to the community at large, not only to highlight the value of our democratic system of checks and balances and the importance of an independent judiciary, but also to educate the public on how to cast an informed vote for politicians as well as judicial candidates. As an activist association, our members' voices carry from Southern California all the way up to Sacramento. Just as we have championed for judicial independence in the past, so must we champion the value of an informed electorate and impress upon our legislators the importance of reinstating civics education in our school curriculum. Together with our members, I know I will not be alone in that endeavor. I have many to thank for never feeling lonely these days. It's been a privilege and honor working alongside a group of remarkable officers and leaders, beginning with Diane Cartman, who never ceases to amaze and inspire me and has been a superlative president, mentor, and supporter. Howard Fredman, Howard Fisher, Richard Kaplan, Autumn Randa, and Doron Igbali, your service as officers is exemplary and inspires the best of all of us at the executive committee table. How poignant that John Rubiner's installation as barristers president 17 years ago was my first event as a BHBA member. Now John will have his Tuesday lunch hours back, but my thanks for his commitment and counsel over the last 17 years, that will be perpetual. Tonight, we recognized a decade of Mark Steinberg's service as Executive Director and now Chief Executive Officer. But I would like to acknowledge and publicly appreciate the years of dedication and excellent counsel Mark contributed long before his decade as our fearless leader. If not for his steadfast and adroit stewardship, I definitely would not be here tonight, and perhaps none of the rest of us would either. There is another without whom I would not be here tonight. I must thank my mother for her support, but mostly for her insistence that I go to law school. I'm delighted that my daughter Dahlia, her husband, and my son Morgan are here to share in this occasion with me, along with my extended family, and will send the pictures to my son Ariel in New York, who couldn't fly in. But if anybody is going to put this up on YouTube tonight, let me know. Lastly, and really most importantly, I can never give enough credit to our indomitable, tireless, no, that's not true, they get plenty tired, but they persevere nonetheless, committed staff, who deserve more thanks than any one night could convey. Please know that you are all valued, appreciated, and praised openly and tacitly, even subconsciously, for every success, every milestone, and every achievement the BHBA enjoys. Was I too short? And now, I have the distinct pleasure to introduce our guest speaker, the Justice Breyer of political journalism, Conan Nolan. Conan is the chief political reporter and anchor of News Conference NBC4 Southern California, the longest-running political public affairs program in Southern California television. Like Justice Breyer, Conan's interviews instantly crystallize the issue and consistently ask the pivotal questions to get to the heart of the matter at hand. He also covers news stories that have been a profound impact on the region, the state, and the nation, from political debates, public education, earthquakes, fires, and some of Los Angeles' most famous freeway pursuits. Mr. Nolan has reported from such diverse places as Kuwait, Iraq, Pakistan, the Afghan border, Rome, Lebanon, and beyond. He has received both the Emmy Award and the Golden Mike Award, and it is my privilege to call him up now.
Thank you, Linda. That's very sweet of you. Whenever I hear something like that, it reminds me of I once read that LBJ, when he would be introduced, he would always say, you know, I wish my mother and father were alive to hear that introduction. My father would have loved all the nice things you said, and my mother might have even believed them. It's very kind of you. It's a high honor to be part of this evening tonight. Speaking of my father, who was a political science professor, and I remember years ago, he once told me, you can tell what the founding fathers really intended on doing with the system of government that we're under. If you read the preamble to the Constitution, to form a more perfect union, it was to establish justice. That was their priority. And so I admire members of the bench who practice the legal arts, those of you who practice at the civil bar of justice, the criminal bar. Your system is the envy of the world, particularly when we see what's going on so far away in the Middle East. One of the things I love about the law and your profession is the sense of permanence there is to it. You know, there's Latin, there's every courthouse in the 58 counties of California always had something similar. They had the Greek columns and the Romanesque facade, and there was a sense of intimidation, and there should be a little bit of intimidation. This law is permanent. It was here before you arrived. It will be here after you leave. And there's a sense of Alvin Toffler of Future Shock. He wrote that book in the 1960s. He said a lack of permanence was going to be a real problem in society down the road. because things change so rapidly. Well, the institution of justice, fortunately, is something that hasn't changed. We still have to get an artist to go into federal court, which we did this past week when they were sentencing some sheriff's deputies to federal prison. I personally like that. I'd rather not have a camera in a federal courthouse. If you quote me on this outside this room, I'll deny saying that, but I do appreciate the traditions that your institution holds to this society. Now, all sorts of other institutions that influence you, they're changing all the time. Mine, for one, when I was just starting in this business in the very early 1980s, I would get a magazine of film, put it in a CP16 film camera, take pictures, come back 2:30, they'd give it to somebody to process it. They would process the film. If you'd collect it around 4, then you'd chop it up and splice it and put a story together, slap it on a projector, and that was the evening news. Now, anybody in this room with a smartphone, thanks to the Wi-Fi of this hotel, could not only record what I'm saying, video and audio, but if you wanted to, for some reason, you could call up your daughter who's studying abroad in Paris in the middle of the night and say, I want you to see this, and you could send what I'm saying or any of the other speakers here in real time to her. There's no studio, there's no satellite, there are no technicians, and there's no charge. It's a dramatic change. Historians like to say that Julius Caesar and George Washington both rode horses. Well, not a lot changed over the course of several thousand years. A lot has changed today. Many of you are my age and older who remember there were 3 networks not that long ago. You had Chet Huntley and David Brinkley. You had Howard K. Smith and Frank Reynolds. You had Walter Cronkite. There was nothing else on the TV at the time that they were on. Everybody pretty much was forced to watch the news, and they watched it collectively. The Los Angeles Times was so big on Sunday it could rupture a dog. Do you remember that? That was a newspaper of record. It had a larger circulation than the New York Times at one point. Not to mention, of course, you had, even in entertainment television, grew up with one television, 3 networks. What did that mean? You had to negotiate. It was great training for a legal career because you had to talk your way into getting to be able to watch your program. I'm sure my parents got enough of the physics of time travel or space travel through a galaxy as seen through the eyes of Gene Roddenberry in that TV show. But I learned all about Lawrence Welk and the Lennon sisters. To this day, I have in the pocket of my car a Mills Brothers CD because there was cross-generational pollination there. We understood each other a little bit. Now that doesn't happen anymore. Everybody's got their own TV, but it's even gone beyond television. We all understand that in that pocket of yours, that cell phone, not only can you take pictures, you don't need me to disseminate the news. Everybody has become a facilitator. Everybody's become a provider of news. It's called the democratization of the media. And it's a mystery as to what ends up happening as a result of it. Everybody has a printing press in their pocket, a digital printing press, 140 characters. It's called Twitter. It's one of the reasons some news think tanks, including Pew, have believed that it's one of the reasons why you're seeing journalists assassinated, beheaded, for God's sakes, overseas, is because those people no longer need journalists to get their message out. They've got social media. They've got Twitter and Facebook. The Pew Center, by the way, did a survey, and they kept asking for years, where do you get your news? Where do you get your news? Television was always on top, although interestingly enough, when they asked him what stories they remembered from TV, they couldn't. Reading a newspaper actually had better recall, but the point here is that for the first time, the target demographic, the younger demographic, the one that the advertisers are looking for, they said, we don't look for the news. The news finds us. The news finds me. So they're finding it in chunks, in bits. They're getting it from their friends who are reading something and posting it on Facebook. And they trust their friends more than they trust us. And that has changed things dramatically. Now, television's trying to respond. I mean, the fact is that in some places you'll see Brian Williams at Nightly News. They know that at 6:30 at night, you've already figured out what the news is. They're going to try to give you something a little more in depth. Personality plays a role. Richard Engel is the foreign correspondent, and NBC Nightly News knows that Yahoo, Google, nobody else has him, so we have him. So you'll see a lot of stories with him in it. It's not just him reporting. He'll actually be immersed in the story. It's called reporter involvement. It helps identify him with, sometimes if you ever watch Nightly News and you see somebody like Richard, a great guy, Stanford educated, very bright, and he's a courageous fellow. But when you see some of these reporters in the middle of the story, ask yourself after you hear what they've said, did I really need to know that? What if I didn't hear that? Would the story have been lack something? It's actually, it's actually a little bit of showmanship. It's all designed sort of in marketing. In my business, they're trying all sorts of different things because our numbers have gone down. The total number of people watching TV have gone down, obviously. The age has gone up to an average of 58 years old. The overall age has gone up for just about everything. We try to now bring you into the tent. It's something called process journalism, where I'm telling you how many doors I knocked on and how many phone calls I made. It's a consultant-driven thing where they think, well, with Twitter and Facebook, we got to engage people. I'm not sure how to do it, but everybody's trying something. The people that sell you soap, I was just talking to the researchers at NBC. One thing, this is off topic just a little bit, but one of the reasons you're seeing, for example, a live program, you saw a live program. Anybody watch the Sound of Music? Remember it was live on NBC about 6 or 7 months ago? Somebody did right here. Carrie Underwood, remember that? That's the first time in 50 years that network television has done something live. We didn't have to do that before. We had videotape, but we did it live. Why? Because people don't record live events. So the commercials you get to see. They hate the digital video recorder, the advertisers do, which is why, for example, sports, you don't record football games, so the audience for the NFL is big, but it's been flat. But the licensee rights have gone like that because it's something that is live. So they're trying to get events out there for people to watch. Event television. Not to mention the fact that demographic, that target demographic that they're looking for, they have a habit of being online when they watch TV. So if you know anything about The Sound of Music, and the next one, it's Peter Pan, NBC's doing Peter Pan Live. Brian Williams' daughter, by the way, is the lead. A little cross-pollination there. They log on and will just, the social media blows up because there's Carrie Underwood can't act. I mean, did you hear what she almost stumbled there, and everybody, and then people log on and they see this and they think, what are they watching? So that's a marketing tool for the show. NBC was thrilled. They had, a huge number, far greater than they expected. And they also had the cachet of it all being on social media. And so people are adjusting. At least they're trying to adjust. But we don't know the ramifications, frankly, of this new media because, quite frankly, everybody now has a different source for their news. Facebook, Google, Yahoo, they can all make your own news page. You can tailor the news page every day for what you want to read. Who you want to read it from, what kind of stories you want to see. It's not what you need to know, it's what you want to know. We all know about Fox, but there's MSNBC. You have a delineation. So many people are watching different areas, different channels, different websites in order to get their news. We kind of wonder, where is that going? Is that the reason, perhaps, why we have a dysfunction in Washington, D.C., a polarization? David Dreyer is a friend of mine, a Republican congressman. He was 32 years in Congress. He was a libertarian congressman. Every time he would have an event, there were more Democrats there than were Republicans. When he left office, he told me he was stunned by the lack of camaraderie there was between members of Congress. I mean, Barry Goldwater and Hubert Humphrey, for God's sakes, were best friends. So were Orrin Hatch and Ted Kennedy. That doesn't seem to be happening. Is that because we don't have this commonality of interest now that we get from a common source or several common sources of news? Does our lack of participation in the voting process have something to do with that? The city of LA, my God, they're talking about a raffle to try to get people to vote. Holy cow, really? There's a side point. There was an article in the Wall Street Journal last week. It was an essay from from Donald Kagan, who is a historian at Yale University. He talked a little bit about how the Athenians, when they established a civil government, and this goes to Linda's point, quite frankly, a civic government, they said, you need civic participation. What can you do to get people to invest the time in order to make this work? You needed to teach a love of country. That's what the Athenians thought. Jefferson thought the same thing. Patriotism had to be taught in schools. Wonder why people don't vote anymore. They have to have an interest in it. They have to have a love of it. It takes work. It's a participatory democracy. So we don't know where it's going, and it's a little concerning. Another side note to this, and I'll just make this go quite briefly. We're an educational institution. Television is, even entertainment television. The public out there, ever since Jack Webb started talking about Miranda versus Arizona or Gideon versus Wainwright, they might not know the cases, but they know that if you get hooked up, you have a right to an attorney and a right to remain silent. Most Americans know that. But they don't know much about anything else pertaining to the American system of jurisprudence. I don't think they know, for example, that if you sign an agreement for your phone or a rental car agreement, you are signing away your rights to a trial because it's forced arbitration. They don't know that. I don't know, I know most people don't know that if you're, God forbid, something happens to a relative because of a medical malpractice suit, or if it's a child, you can sue for $250,000. That's it. That's the micro law. It's on the ballot. But it's a law you're not supposed to know about. I know that because I mentioned to a judge before I was impaneled, and I was off like that. But I think there's much that needs to be taught in schools and in the institutions that we have in the past depended on about civic participation. We're all in this together. Now, the good news is that there is good news. Media, of which I sort of represent here, is a derivative of the word mediate. And there's a strong school of thought that says the New York Times isn't going anywhere. There's a symphony of ideas out there and of different points of view, from the Daily Beast and Huffington Post and all the others. But the rank and file, the society needs those out there who can separate the weed from the wheat. And so those who practice the craft of journalism and do it right and do it with respect to the audience and a fidelity to the truth will still have a job. That's good news. The other good news is that there are more people reading newspapers today than ever. They're just not paying for it. It's up to the LA Times to figure out a way, and others, the Wall Street Journal has, but others to figure out how to find an equilibrium. I know the Times is looking for a benefactor, somebody who will come in who's not looking for a complete bottom line, but is interested in the greater good. That may happen. It's a tough business being in print, but they will find a way because people demand it and they're reading it. There's also the fact that in television, my industry, there are 10 television stations in Los Angeles that do news every day, 7 in English, 3 in Spanish. Every hour of the day, there's a newscast saved for 90 minutes. So somebody's watching. And there's also the deep-seated belief that although you have a young generation now that's cutting the cord, they've got the earphones in, they have their own playlist, they have their own section of whatever website they want to go to, and they've sectioned off everything else, that at some point they get married, and at some point they may have kids, and at some point those kids have to go to school, and at that point they have to become engaged because they're paying taxes. They have a community. They have a park they have to pay for. They have a kid they want to get educated. And historically, that's when we see them, again, start to watch the news. And again, fundamentally, I think those people also, at some point, respect, particularly at a day like today, when you see what's going on overseas, and it is so horrific that it makes you reflect. It's a pretty special place that we have here. And it's special because of the democratic institutions that we have inherited, and it's our task to do everything we possibly can to cherish and bolster and support and make sure it's there for the next generation. I mentioned Hubert Humphrey and Barry Goldwater. He's to many young people, he's an obscure politician, but Humphrey was a senator from Minnesota. He was vice president, called the Happy Warrior, and he was, despite a very difficult time in the late 1960s when he ran against Richard Nixon, barely lost, he was always upbeat. And I remember there was one great quote of his where he said, the good old days were never that good. The good new days are today, and better days are coming tomorrow. Our greatest songs are yet unsung. And I think I will tweet that after this is over. Thank you very much, everybody. It was a great time. Thank you for having me.
Well, this is a time to install the new officers and the board members of the Beverly Hills Bar Association. And I'm delighted to be able to do this. Please stand when your name is called, and if you can, restrain yourselves. Hold your applause until all the names have been called and the oath administered. So read off the names. The new officers are Howard S. Fredman, the President-elect, Howard S. Fisher, First Vice President, Richard Kaplan, Second Vice President, Levon Lawson, Secretary-Treasurer, and the new governors are Judith Dorenstein, Megan Green, Bonita Moore, Megan Pitsky, Uzi Ranan, and Sarah Talley. The board members re-elected for a second term are Ronald Gutman, Susanna Jeffers, Ryan Lapidus. Board members continuing their service are Robert Aronoff and Barry Drucker, Jonathan Franklin, Kenneth Freundlich, Neville Johnson, Adam Siegler, Michael Sohigian, and Alexandra Steinberg. And the following barristered members of the association board: Barrister President Duran Igbali, Barrister President-elect William Wenzel, Nicholas Francescan, David Palitz, Autumn Ronda, and Brian Schaller. And the law school ex officio is Pepperdine University Dean Danelle Rees-Tacha. The president of the Beverly Hills Bar Association Foundation, Gillian Brown. Beverly Hills Bar Association representative to the ABA, Daniel McIntosh. And the following are the judicial ex officio members: Honorable Lawrence Crispo, Honorable Charles McCoy, Honorable John L. Siegel. So now, you could raise your right hands out there, do you solemnly affirm that you will seek to pursue justice, to maintain the high standards of our profession, and to improve the quality of legal services for all people, and further affirm that you will promote the interest and welfare of the Beverly Hills Bar Association and its members to the best of your ability? Do you assume these obligations freely and with enthusiasm, and pledge to well and faithfully discharge the duties which it will now be your honor to perform? All right. Okay, thank you. You may now applaud. Okay, now I'm delighted to install the officers and board members of the Beverly Hills Bar Association barristers. As you all know, or almost all of you, that's the Young Lawyers Division of the association. So again, would you please stand when your name is called? And again, hold your applause. New officers are William Wenzel, President-elect, Nadir Iman, Secretary, Jan Goldstein, Treasurer, and the new board members are Anastasia Allen, Rachel Balcham, Larry Freeman, Ariandi Giannis, Danielle Grabois, Elizabeth Hall, Diana Osipian, Leroy Williams. And then the continuing board members are Laura Cable, Jonathan Dennis, Nick Francescan, Lauren Gabian, John Grimble, Lee Leschner, David Palitz, Megan Pitsky, Autumn Ronda, Brian Schaller, Zev Sheckman, and Janine Percival Wright. Now, if you could all, again, raise your right hand. Do you solemnly affirm that you will seek to pursue justice, to maintain the high standards of your profession, and to improve the quality of legal services for all people, and further affirm that you will promote the interests and welfare of the Beverly Hills Bar Association and its members to the best of your ability? Do you solemnly assume these obligations freely and with enthusiasm, and pledge to well and faithfully discharge the duties which will now be your honor to perform? And you may now applaud. And now I have the honor if we can call up Duran Egbali to install him as the president of the barristers. You all know him. Okay, now, raise your right hand. Do you solemnly affirm that you will seek to pursue justice, to maintain the high standards of our profession, and to improve the quality of legal services for all people, and further affirm that you will promote the interests and welfare of the Beverly Hills Bar Association and its members to the best of your ability? Do you assume these obligations freely and with enthusiasm, and pledge to well and faithfully discharge the duties which will now be your honor to perform?
Yes, I do.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. Now I wanted to acknowledge the other past presidents of the barristers who are here this evening with us. And these are the people that I look up to and I aspire to be. Christopher Bradford, Robert Lance, Richard Kaplan, Sean Novak, Irina Raskin, Steve Rauscher, John Rubiner, and Linda Spiegel. Now it's my honor and privilege to call our current president of the barristers, Ms. Autumn Ronda, to present her with a plaque.
Good evening, everyone. As I look back on the last year, I'm filled with tremendous sense of pride and accomplishment in what the barristers have achieved. I'm told I only have a minute, so I'm not going to waste any time being modest. Blood, sweat, tears, and a lot of foregone billable hours have allowed me to deliver on the promises that I made to this room just 1 year ago during my installation remarks. Specifically, we assisted young lawyers battle this difficult job market and gain the mentorship they needed to succeed by establishing a formal mentorship program for the association. Moreover, we helped bridge the gap between those members of our community in need of free legal services with the abundance of young lawyers who need practical lawyering skills by creating a new pro bono committee that facilitates pro bono programming and produces a newsletter highlighting pro bono opportunities at the various legal aid organizations in the community. This is merely a sample of the extraordinary achievements of the Barristers Board this past year. I want to thank my fellow board members and officers and the bar staff for being irreplaceable. I leave you in very good hands with Duran and the other new officers, and I'm very excited for the year to come. I'd also like to thank my friends, my family, my boyfriend Michael, and my law firm, Valency Rose, each of whom had every right to dump me for my neglect of them, but instead chose to support me. Today is my 34th birthday. Thank you. So I literally spent my entire the entire 33rd year of my life dedicated to trying to make a difference in this wonderful, amazing bar organization. And I can truthfully say that this has been my most fulfilling year yet. Thank you so much for entrusting me with this important responsibility and for giving me this amazing opportunity to serve as your barrister's president. Thank you.
And I also wanted to thank Autumn. I can faithfully really acknowledge what she did this last year. She put in so many hours, and I know that she instituted and implemented, as she mentioned, the mentorship program that we're going to talk about a little bit tonight, and the job board bulletin, and other things. So she was working really late hours, and she also had to work on weekends, really to make up the hours, the billable hours that she had to. So, so we very much appreciate that. My remarks are somehow brief. I want you guys to know more about the barristers and what we do, and really something important that I will address at the end. It is an honor and privilege standing here representing our devoted and dedicated barristers. Our barristers personify professionalism and public service. In fact, barristers' work transcends helping fellow attorneys. Our barristers proudly cook and feed around 60 homeless people every second Saturday of the month from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. at Santa Monica Shelter. Provide free legal clinic to seniors every first Saturday of the month. Teach elementary school children meaning of love, respect, and tolerance. Help troubled teens. Draft wills for firefighters, policemen, and policewomen. Provide free tenant rights seminars. Plan and implement an elaborate, when I say elaborate, it is indeed elaborate, and it takes a year to plan and implement it. Plan and implement an elaborate vintage bouquet to make it possible to provide free scholarships to several, when I say several, it means several, and it's not a like a $2,000-3,000, it's more than that. To several law students every year through the to the Beverly Hills Bar Foundation, and we appreciate that. Provide worthy school supplies to help abused, neglected, or abandoned children. Provide considerable and meaningful New Year's gifts for orphaned and foster children. And last but not least, educate the public on the salience of voting for judges. These are just several of the things that we could really elaborate and expound upon. Our barristers do a lot more. In fact, barristers are spearheading more than 20 committees and projects. When I say 20, I'm not exaggerating. You could go to bhba.org /barristers, and you're going to see, the sections. And it's not up to date. We're going to make it up to date. And so, yet our dedicated barristers seek your help and support, and I mean it. As the invaluable leaders of this great institution, many young attorneys are still underemployed or unemployed. Each one of us can help by signing up to become a mentor to a young attorney or law student. Our barristers, as I mentioned, thanks to Autumn, Rhonda, have implemented an elaborate mentorship program. And we can all go to www.bhba.org mentorship to sign up, please do so. It doesn't take that long. It's probably 2 or 3 minutes, and it's greatly appreciated. We can also help if we know of any legal jobs. If a young attorney contacts us, we should all take some time to talk to them and acknowledge them at the very least if we see them. It is incumbent upon all of us as the leaders of this great and proud institution to assist our posterity, hence guarantee the future of our great and proud organization. I want to thank you, all of you. I wholeheartedly look forward to working with each one of you, and I want to say you're all the best, because we have some of the best amongst us that help us, and it's been a pleasure and privilege. And I've said this before, and I say that again. My wife is here, and you know, this Beverly Hills Bar Association is my second home, and I've told this so many times. Beverly Hills Bar Association does not pay me anything, but I love it. And so please come help us and make this another successful and proud year. With that said, I'm done. Thank you so much.
Close by anyway, so. Well, the final swearing in will be the officers and board members of the Beverly Hills Bar Foundation. That's a charitable affiliate of the Beverly Hills Bar Association. Again, you've heard this before. Please stand when your name is called, and again, please hold your applause until all the names are called and the oath administered. The officers are Stephen P. Webb, President-elect; Stephen E. Young, Vice President, Development; Darren Schlechter, Vice President, Scholarships; Jill Levin, Vice President, Grants; Mark Lieberman, Secretary; Jill Jahant, Treasurer; Foundation Board of Directors; Robert Aronoff, Linda Blank, the Honorable Aviva Bob, Don Colson, Alan Forsley, Haney Haddad, Joseph Heckmott, Jeffrey Howell, Susan K. Leader, Kenneth G. Petrulis, Mark Poster, Brian Purcell, Randall Rich, Khaldun Shabaki, Bruce D. Sires, Alex Stoliar, David Streets, Leroy Williams, Geraldine A. Weil. The ex officio members are Bonita Moore, William Wenzel, Linda Spiegel, Howard Fredman, Doran Egbali, Diane Cartman, and Autumn Ronda. So if you can now raise your right hand. What? Not done yet? Do you solemnly affirm that you will seek to pursue justice to maintain the high standards of our profession and to improve the quality of legal services for all people, and further affirm that you will promote the interests and welfare of the Beverly Hills Bar Foundation to the best of your ability? Do you assume these obligations freely and with enthusiasm and pledge to well and faithfully discharge the duties which it will now be your honor to perform? Now, finally, last but not least, we have Gillian Brown is the president of the foundation, and Gillian, if you can, one of the, particular pleasure because she actually appears before me every now and then. So I knew somebody here anyway. So, again, would you raise your right hand? Do you solemnly affirm that you will seek to pursue justice to maintain the high standards of our profession and to improve the quality of legal services for all people, and further affirm that you will promote the interests and welfare of the Beverly Hills Bar Foundation to the best of your ability? Do you assume these obligations freely and with enthusiasm and pledge to well and faithfully discharge your duties, which it is now be your honor to perform.
I do.
That was great.
Thank you.
I would like to acknowledge the past presidents of the Beverly Hills Bar Foundation who are here this evening. And if we could get a wave from Nicholas, Alice, and Emily Edelman. It is my absolute pleasure to call up Benita Moore so that we can give her a most well-deserved award.
We'll just take a couple of minutes. 1 minute. 1 minute. Darn! Yes, the night is long, so I really want to reserve my time for thank yous. It's really been an honor, excuse me, to lead the helm of the foundation this year. I want to thank my leadership team, my wonderful board members, Mark Steinberg, CEO extraordinaire, and the truly, truly exemplary staff of the Beverly Hills Bar Association. And thank you most of all to all of you for your collegiality, for your support, for your service, for being great role models, and for your philanthropy. And I hope you'll keep the foundation in mind this next year. I'm leaving the foundation in utmost wonderful hands with Gillian and the new leadership team. So thank you very much.
Good evening. The foundation is charged with 3 tasks: to raise money, to raise money, to raise money. We raise money from our membership who give donations, who attend our events, who get their firms to sponsor our events, and from community businesses sponsor our events. And in fact, I'd like to invite you all to our first event of the season. This Sunday, we're having our 2nd annual poker tournament at the Braemar Country Club in the Valley. It starts at 11 o'clock. Come mingle, meet new friends, take money from new friends, play some poker, have a good time. We'd also like to invite you to our November golf tournament, which will also be at the Braemar Country Club. But more important than all of the events that we put on is the question of why we do all of this, why we invite you to attend these events and bug you over and over again for your financial support. And the why is found in our mission, which simply stated is a mission of advancing justice through education and community service. With regard to that second aspect of community service, you're living that right now by being here, by being part of this community. And we as a foundation seek to fund initiatives that comport with your values, the values that your bar perpetuates, those of inclusion, justice, and access. And this year, I'd like to focus our community service on the work that the barristers do. Rather than giving money out to the rest of the community, we want to keep it at home and provide for Duran's leadership and the initiatives that he spoke about before. And we look very much forward to working collaboratively with all of you. The other part of our mission is that of education, and we are extremely humbled and grateful and proud that we as a foundation provide scholarships to academically qualified, economically disadvantaged law students who go to 5 of the accredited law schools in the Los Angeles area. These are students who are committed in their past and in their present and on to the future in doing public interest work. And we expect that by supporting them now, they will be joining us at these events, at these dinners, and become part of our leadership in the future. We need your financial support in order to provide these scholarships. But we also need your guidance, and we need your enthusiasm. And so please consider joining us for an hour or two in the early spring when we interview these students. You'll meet people like some of our recent recipients, one of whom was not just the first in her family to receive a professional degree, not just the first in her family to graduate from college, not just the first in her family to graduate from high school, but the first in her family to go beyond the 6th grade. These young people are inspiring. They can learn from you, and maybe we can learn a little bit from them. So here and now, I cordially invite each and every one of you to next year's event where you will meet the 2015 scholarship recipients. That will be at one of our signature foundation events, the Supreme Court Luncheon. It will be held, I think, June 2nd. We will remind you, I promise. The Supreme Court justices, other appellate judges, and trial court judges will be there, and it will be an opportunity for you to meet the future yous, the people who share your values and will bring this foundation, this association into the future. Just as a word of thanks at this conclusion of the evening to my dear friend Bonnie Moore, who brought me here tonight and handed me a foundation in fine form. And her past year as president has left me very little to do but run with what it is that she started. To Mark Steinberg, whose leadership inspires, from whom I've already learned a great deal, and whose friendship I value. To Linda Spiegel, who hit the ground running and graciously is bringing me along. To the foundation board members who have all already committed to give their time and their money to our cause. Here at this table, to my family away from my biological family, I've been at Pachulski, Stang, Zealand, Jones for 14 years this week, and these people mean the world to me. They're not just my colleagues, they're my dearest friends. Mostly, I want to thank all of you for being here, for being part of this community, for supporting us and letting us do the work and live the values that you all personify. Thank you.
I'd like to thank Conan Nolan for being our keynote speaker. I'd like to thank Barry Russell for agreeing and serving as our installation officer, even though he had so many difficult names to read this evening. I want to thank all of you for coming. And as my final act of the evening as president, I now adjourn this evening's dinner. Thank you so much.